Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your pre-trip webinar for our upcoming Europe's Best Christmas Markets trip. By now, you must be in the Christmas spirit. I'm sure all of the shopping malls have started playing Christmas carols, and uh, for some people, it might be a bit too early. I think for me, I'm kind of like, let's wait till the 1st of December. But let's face it, the reality is, after we put the pumpkins away, it's already Christmas time. So we're going to get started here in just under a minute's time and give you a lot of heads up on what you need to know for this amazing trip, visiting some of what we consider to be some of the best Christmas markets in Europe. And, there's so many Christmas markets all across Europe. So it's like, how do you choose? But based on our experience from last year, I think we chose some good ones. So we will be recording this as we do all of our pre-trip webinars, so don't worry about missing anything. You can always go back and check. And of course, a lot of the information that we cover is in the documentation that we would have sent along. So, what we're going to cover today, I'm going to first introduce your host, Evan. And then Evan and I are going to tell you a little bit about what you need to know about the trip. That's the most important part, is getting ready so that you can enjoy the markets of Europe to the fullest. And then I'll talk about what's going to happen when you arrive, when you touch down into Frankfurt. And then I'm not going to go into the itinerary in great detail. You will have undoubtedly done that by now. But I'll touch on a few of the highlights. Pardon me, I seem to have caught a little cold from my travels around Asia. And then we're going to end up with answering any questions that you might have that are of, broad interest. So please do put your questions at any time into the Q&A box or into the chat box. You can use either one. If you look at that menu bar that you've got in front of you there, if you don't see the menu, by the way, you might want to scroll up or down with your mouse, and then sometimes it is hidden. And but if you scroll to the top or bottom of your screen, you'll see those boxes. And then some of you have already typed in your names, and welcome to all of you. So first and foremost, Evan, who is your amazing host for this trip, and he's going to show you around Europe, a well-traveled guy, and that is not a fake backdrop, Evan, right?
I am in
Tell
the
us
Exumas
exactly
right
where you
now.
are.
I'm in
Okay.
Norman's Key in the Exumas. So, if you're familiar with the history of Pablo Escobar and his drug smuggling empire, this island was taken over from the locals by Carlos Leder. And 2 days ago, we actually snorkeled on their crashed drug smuggling plane that is turned into a
Wow.
reef, which I can actually see from here. We can motor over on our dinghy. But yeah, I'm in the Exumas. I'm here until the 21st, and then I'm flying back to Canada, and then I'll be joining you all for the Christmas markets of Europe, which I'm so excited for. I'm your host, and I'm a fellow traveler with you. I've seen a lot of these cities when I was younger, and I'm so excited to see it lit up for Christmas. It was summertime when I had last been to most of these countries, and to see it lit up with Christmas magic is going to be incredible. I'm hoping we get lots of walking in because I heard the treats are really good. So try and balance all that out. Um, I'll let you know about my professional background. I have a high-end hospitality background in restaurants for 24 years, and I operate a sailing school. So what we do is we build sailing liveaboard education in the Caribbean and in Lake Ontario in the summer. So it's sort of like a learn to sail vacation in this beautiful setting. Um, all that to say is I'm very organized. My job, as I do here with Happy Sailing, is to make sure that you are focused on traveling, and I take care of all the gritty details in the background. And I can't wait. So problem solve. I'm a sailor. Problem solving is my number one skill that I would say that I have. So thank you everyone for joining today. I'll pass it back to Gordon.
Yeah, terrific. And thanks for mentioning that, Evan. If for those of you, and I know a lot of you have traveled with us before, so you know the role of the host, right? So Evan is there, as he said, to take care of, as he put it, the gritty details. Well, I mean, actually, most of the gritty details will have been looked after by our team that coordinates this trip. We've done this before, so we know. Well, we think we know it could go wrong, but you never know. That's the beauty of travel. It's always an adventure. And so the whole point of having a host is to make sure that any of those hiccups get addressed, oftentimes before you even know that there's been a hiccup. And But also to make sure that you enjoy the trip, that you get what you came for, to liaise with our local guide. So Evan is not our local guide. We've arranged for local guides, of course, on this trip in Frankfurt, in Dusseldorf, in Ghent, and so on and so on. And They're the ones that are going to tell you all about these cities, obviously in the context of the Christmas markets. There's so much; it's so full. And when I say full, I don't mean necessarily busy, but it's rich with content. Because, like as I say, this is a Christmas markets trip, but there's the cities in themselves are so interesting and engaging. And as Evan said, you might have seen them before on a beautiful summer day, but it's a different vibe at Christmas. So anyway, I could go on and on, but it's time for us to get into those so-called gritty details, as Evan put it. So first of all, what we're going to cover is pre-trip information, and I'll I'll talk about the first gritty detail, which is your passport and documents that you need. You don't need much, actually. You need your passport. That is about it. As far as documentation, we thankfully don't need, of course, any visas or anything for Europe. Um, the one thing I will say about that, so let me say one thing first, which is make a copy of it. I typically make a photo of it with my phone, so I've always got a digital copy. Maybe take a printed copy just in case, because honestly, the best place for your passport for most of the trip is in the safe, in the mini, like in the little safe box that's in your room. You just don't need it, particularly in Europe, except of course to enter and exit the country, or the continent in this case. So you don't need your passport much. But just as a note on arrival, and I may be jumping ahead, Europe is in the process of introducing their new electronic travel authorization system. There is at present nothing you need to do in advance, so it's just as traveling to Europe always has been. You show up, but they will take biometric data now when you arrive into Frankfurt. And I haven't flown into Frankfurt since they introduced this last month. This is all brand new. So you may be fingerprinted. I don't think they're doing retina scans yet. But we're used to this from the States, I just came from India and Thailand, all over the world. I mean, this is becoming the norm, right? So just be aware that is, there is and that extra step now in entering into Europe, but there's nothing you need to do in advance. So that's the important thing. Otherwise, as far as documentation is concerned, anything else that if you didn't have a copy of it, it would be very inconvenient, is what I would recommend you bring. So that might mean copies of prescriptions, copy of your password for your Gmail account. Because when you go to upload photos to our shared Google photo album, sometimes it's happened to be just on my last trip, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, I've got a Google account. I want to upload photos. Oh, I don't have my password. I'm logged out. I can't get into my account." And then what do you do? So those kinds of things are what you need. The old adage is money, tickets, passport. Of course, nowadays money is digital, and tickets are also digital. So your phone is your only other important thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Evan's going to start off by sharing a little bit on packing, because of course that's the big question. What do I need for a trip like this? Evan, why don't you start off, and I'll fill in the blanks based on my own experience.
Sure, thank you, Gordon. So if we had one sentence we could say is to dress like an onion when traveling. So what that means is I like to pack layers. Um, Wools are really great for wicking away sweat, also good insulators and keeping you warm. Any sort of synthetic sports layer underneath a sweater, then even a light insulated coat works. I have a light Helly Hansen coat, packs really well, kind of stylish, little sporty, casual, and all I need is a light sweater and maybe an underlayer for that. If you tend to get cold, I would say maybe some long underwear for under your pants. Wool socks are great, especially when we're walking around could be drizzling, maybe some snow.
Mm.
Again, keeping your feet nice and dry is going to keep you comfortable all day. We're going to be walking around all day. A collapsible umbrella could be a really great idea. A wind or water protective layer over a sweater could maybe take the place of an insulated jacket. And again, something a little smart casual for some of the nights when we go for dinner or go to a concert. You don't need to bring a tuxedo or anything like that.
No.
I'm bringing a hat, a scarf, and potentially some light gloves. And so again, think thermal base layer. Heavy cottons tend to hold moisture. Really great in the summertime when you're walking around in dry heat. Cotton's not always great in colder, damper climates. So really think merino wool, and again, like a sporty layer underneath. That's really great for wicking away
Mm.
sweat. Um, Gordon, do you want me to touch on things like keeping a soft backpack for when you're shopping in the
Yeah, please.
markets? Yeah, so
Yeah,
I like to
that's a
keep a
great idea.
small. I have a small backpack that I can crumple into a tiny little ball. It goes into my luggage, and I bring that with me. I can put a water bottle in it. I can keep a charging block, extra cords if I need. If I want to bring my adapter, the outlets are a little different in Europe, so I like to bring one of those. A pair of sunglasses, a hat is great. Keeps a lot of the heat we lose is at the top of our head. I like a light scarf. Anything that you're gonna have sort of any cold ingress or heat egress. So, the backpack also doubles as, you're walking around all day. Maybe the sun pops out or it's a warmer than seasonal day. It was cool in the morning. Now we're walking around, we're too hot. We can remove some of those layers and now we have somewhere to put the layer in your backpack instead of I always, never really liked having to carry my coat under my arm. It sort of reduces my experience of just browsing and feeling comfortable. So backpack on the back of you, you're not going to notice it. Um, I might be missing some stuff, Gordon. Anything that
Yeah,
for
you covered most of it, Evan. I think that's a brilliant packing list. I want to reiterate a couple things.
sure?
For me, as somebody that lives now, spends most a lot of my time in the tropics, I tell you, long underwear is the absolute like. I never used to ever wear that when I was in the city and going to work and all the rest of it. It was only like when you went skiing or something like that. Forget it. Get some long underwear because when you're standing around at Christmas markets, if there's a cool, it is the best. Like it's a must as far as I'm concerned. Um, so I think that's important. I think as you say, a day pack of any kind, even if it's like what you bring in lieu of a conventional carry-on, it should be something like it's ideal if you have something like Evan has that you can squeeze up real tight and compact. But even if you have just a regular day pack that you would use for wherever, because again, as Evan, you said it absolutely correctly. It'll be chilly, particularly in the early mornings and in the evenings, but during the day it can get quite warm. If you're sitting around or standing around drinking Glühwein, you can find that you'll get quite warm. You'll want to be able to have a place to take, put your stuff, your extra layer um uh so that you can be flexible in that regard. I am going to send you guys some wheel and anchor water bottles, the last of a so you're going to have those when you arrive at your hotel in Frankfurt. And so we don't often think about staying hydrated in the wintertime. We generally think about it when we're out in the hot sun. But because you're going to be out enjoying some of the lovely beverages that there are in the markets, it's as important, if not more important, to keep drinking water. You can, of course, buy it anywhere in plastic bottles, but let's save the plastic bottles. That's why we have these wonderful Wheel and Anchor water bottles that, by the way, are thermal. So you can put tea in it as well. Like what's our hot drink in it, or a hot toddy, but we'll save that for the Christmas markets maybe. Um, so they're really, really handy. So you'll have those. And all that being said, there's just two other cardinal rules. One is casual. There is no need for anything fancy. You are going out to a lovely, I don't know how much details my team has given you, but a lovely event in Vienna. And some people may be dressed up for that. There is no need to be dressed up for that. So you could, though, if you are somebody that likes to, dress up for dinner, by all means, but don't overpack. So that's the other thing is pack as light as you can. You're going to be traveling by train, and you'll have to manage your own luggage. There's time for that. It's all going to work out fine. Evan's going to help, you coordinate to get on and off the train. But there is going to be some managing of stuff. So don't bring the largest piece of luggage that you have, and then you're going to have to worry about. Try to stay compact, and nobody cares if you wear the same outfit twice or three times or four times, right? It's all about the under wear as opposed to the outer wear. So, that's the key. So, one other thing is about the adapter. We put a picture of the European adapter. Probably most of you know it by now. Two round pins. Do bring an adapter. If you have anything other than your typical electronic devices like your phone charger or your camera charger or whatever, um, do you have anything unusual like a hair dryer or a hair straightener that you like to take with you? Sometimes those will only work on 110 volt voltage, in which case you would need to get a voltage converter. But listen, most of your hotels are going to have hair dryers. If there isn't one in the room, you can probably borrow one at reception. And so just be mindful of anything. We've heard that hearing aid chargers sometimes require 110 volts. And so if there's something specialized that you have, best to check it now. There's, not even 2 weeks left, and just see if there's anything else that you need. So I think we've covered most of the important things, but by all means, if there's any questions about that, please put it into the chat box. Um, do you want to continue on a little bit talking about money and so on, Evan? And again, I'll fill in the blanks as necessary.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, the some people's instinct may be to carry a bunch of cash or to get all your cash in Canada and get it exchanged before you arrive. It's such a we're going to be in the city. We're going to be able to see a bank right away. So usually when I travel, I don't like to carry a lot of cash because I don't know if I'll be able to first of all spend it all and then be able to convert it back to Canadian dollars when I head home. Currencies fluctuate, so just to get rid of that. But I just go to the bank and I take out a bit of cash for the next few days that I need. And then I'm not carrying a lot of cash around. But we do want to have some cash for cafes, kiosks, or snacks. So a small kitty of cash is fine. Generally, they'll give you some big bills out of the bank machine. My move is always when I arrive somewhere, I get some cash out and I go to a cafe, I buy myself a coffee, and I start building my little, we'll call it my float.
Yeah,
And then I can give small tips or whatever if I'm at a cafe or if I want to buy little trinkets at the market. Then I have small denominations of cash, especially they're small businesses. A lot of these makers, so they probably prefer cash. ATMs are everywhere, if not probably more than we have in Canada.
yeah.
And so I just like to have my card. I use one credit card, helps me track my spending better. And your debit cards will work as well. And again, back to just small denominations, you'll be able to get that just by spending the money. So I would say, I don't know, Gordon, if this is a way to say it, but don't overthink the cash part. It's going to be available to us once we get to where we're going.
Exactly. And don't go and ask your bank to get euros in Canada. With all due respect, and don't get me started on Canadian banks and how we're centuries behind the time. Just don't even bother. Just take your card and go to the first ATM you hit when you arrive in Frankfurt Airport. It's totally fine. You will get hosed by the banks in Canada, or even worse, the exchange currency exchange places in the airport. Stay away. Your bank machine is the easiest way to do it. Um, and I agree with everything that Evan just said. The other thing that we strongly recommend, and those that have traveled a lot with Wheel and Anchor know about the Wise card. This is like a credit debit card that you can get. If you haven't already gotten one, it's probably a bit too late to get the physical card now because it does take about 3 weeks, but you can still get a digital card. Um, and then it pops up on your screen just like your other credit cards do. I'm going to just show you the example. So there's the Wise card on my phone, so you can tap it just like your card, any of your other credit cards. And the beauty is that you can track your spending. It has the best exchange rates going. So I was just checking my Visa bill from CIBC. It is horrendous, the exchange rates that they charge. It's highway robbery, sorry. And Wise will give you the best possible exchange rate. So we're big fans. A lot of members have adopted it. Travelers think it's the best thing. So it's worth considering if you haven't already gotten one. And details again were emailed to you. So check through your emails that we've sent on how to get one of those. Um, Talking again, as Evan mentioned about cash and for gratuities, most of the gratuities for all of the services that we provide have been prepaid by you. So they're built into the trip price. Okay. So the guides, the drivers, in restaurants where we the meal is part of the program, all those tips are taken care of. And I'm going to sneeze again. And I apologize for that.
Bless
And
you.
hey, thank you. So those tips are taken care of. But if you're out, as Evan said, having a coffee, or even if you go out for a meal, for one of those meals that's not in the program, and you want to leave a tip, it's best done in cash because the whole system with gratuities doesn't work like at home. So if you can charge a meal on your card just as you would at home, but they don't have that, they don't have that system where you charge it and then you fill in the tip underneath at the end and sign it. If they will put the full amount on your card, and they much prefer to get a tip in cash anyway. But that being said, Europe, you don't need to tip. It's not gotten as insane as it is as at home. Um, Tipping is basically rounding up to a maximum of 10%. If you have dinner at a lovely restaurant, and the bill is 70 euros, 72 euros, you'd top up to about 80. That's plenty. They're super happy with that. That's sort of the rule of thumb on gratuities. The only other gratuities that are not included are for things that we don't have access to. So your transfer driver who picks you up at the airport, if they're super nice and friendly and helpful, you might want to give them a couple euros. Your housekeeper, those are sort of discretionary up to you, but everything else is taken care of. Let's move on to mobile communications. So this is really important, and I said this from the beginning. Oops, bring your phone, because it's really, really helpful, and we communicate using Telegram. And Evan will explain about Telegram in just a second, but I just want to explain what your options are for your phone. So bring your phone to Europe. You have three options for using your phone. One is you can just literally you can turn your data off after you leave Canada and then just use Wi-Fi in hotels. Obviously, all have it. And a lot of restaurants, a lot of places have Wi-Fi, but then you have to constantly go around logging on to Wi-Fi everywhere. But that is definitely option one. Option two is that you can um, use a roaming plan from home. Bell and Rogers, they all have roaming plans. They're pretty expensive, although I've heard that they are coming out with new plans because I think they realize they're losing their shirt to all of the eSIM companies. So I may be eating my words there because there are some new international roaming plans. I don't know the details, but that is an option. And then, of course, you could just use your phone exactly as you would do it at home, and you just pay whatever fee they charge you for roaming. The third option is to get a SIM card locally. This is what I do, quite honestly. You can get a physical SIM. So um, most phones still take a physical SIM, like you can see in the picture here. A lot of the newer phones take eSIM, so it's the same thing, but it's electronic. It's a serial number you put in. And that way, you're online for a lot less expensive than what they charge you at home, and you can use all of the data functions of your phone. So Telegram, your WhatsApp, your email, your browsing, your like everything. The only thing you cannot do if you put a different SIM card in is text. Or at least you can't text with your phone number at home because the SIM card is essentially your phone number from home. So I know a lot of people in Canada are still texting. The rest of the world has moved on from texting and is using apps. So if you text a lot, you have to think about how important that is to you. But the SIM card is the way to go. eSIM cards can be bought in advance online. We don't recommend any particular one only because there are zillions of them in the meantime. Our hosts often use ones like Airolo. I use one called Saley. I use another one called Fonus. There's a million options, and most of them work pretty well in Europe. So you can get an eSIM, you can buy it online, you can set it up. and then you activate it as soon as you arrive in Germany, and then you're good to go. So um, that's what your options are as far as mobile communications are concerned. Why? Um, well, as I say, Evan's going to tell you about how we use Telegram. But the other thing is, you're going to be out and about on your own in these Christmas markets, and it can get a little bit overwhelming because it's like all these stands and lights, and and then you look up and you're like, where the heck am I? So Google Maps for me is a magical tool because it can help you get back to the hotel or wherever it is that you want to go. So if you're not familiar with Google Maps, do a little tutorial. Again, there's a million of them on YouTube on how to use Google Maps. So, Evan, will you explain a little bit about Telegram and how important it is?
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Telegram is a messaging app. We also use it to broadcast the channel and also to have the group chat that you guys will use to communicate with each other or share anything. I'll use the channel to broadcast information regarding the trip, especially every time I update the daily. So, we're going to have the daily, which is going to be basically the newspaper every morning. I will update that every night. Even if I get details early in the morning, you'll have brand new, fresh information for the day. And I will let you guys know through the channel that those updates are live. The channel's one-way sort of communication for just updates. The group chat is something that I may or may not be involved in. I might pop in there once in a while. I will be there to see what's going on if, there's anything that we need to know. But if you are messaging me through Telegram, um, we'll do that as a private chat to me. So we won't do it in the group chat because I don't always monitor it. It's more for you guys to stay connected as a community.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yep.
and one thing on Telegram is I've heard from some of you, which is awesome. I've said hi back. Some folks haven't done it yet, so as soon as you can, get Telegram, start getting familiar with it. That way, it feels like second nature once we're actually in Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't mind showing you in person. If you really do struggle with technology, I could do a quick little chat with you and get it set up. But it's best to really try and do it on your own so that you become an expert in Telegram. As for me, personally, I learn really well by doing. So if that's you, I suggest getting Telegram as soon as you can and saying hello. Um, I, Gordon, I don't know if I got everything there.
Yeah, you got everything. I think that's
Okay,
great. No,
great.
I think one of the key messages there is set it up before you leave. There's a whole page that we sent on how to set up Telegram. You can also do a search on YouTube. There's all kinds of YouTube tutorials on Telegram. If you've used WhatsApp, and a lot of folks are using WhatsApp, it basically works pretty much exactly the same. There's a few things that are different, but the premise of it is the same. But it's important to do it before you go because the most important time when you want to use it is if you have any issue when you're arriving. And you need to get a hold of Evan to say, I missed the flight. There was a misconnection or whatever it happens to be. That's when you want to have Telegram because that's where Evan is going to be able to be reached. So that's why it's really important. Rest of the details are in there, as he mentioned. Um, I am going to go on and talk now about health protocols, and there's just a couple points I want to raise here. Um, so first of all, if at any point during the trip you feel unwell, you have a cough or a sneeze, please wear a mask. And I can tell you this firsthand. I just came back from an amazing trip up the Ganges in India, and there was like one or two people that picked something up because God knows you're out and about, and it's easy to pick up a little cough or a sneeze. And next thing you know, half the boat had it, and it was like, oh, we should be wearing masks, but we were like literally we caught it a bit late. And next thing you know, and thankfully it was nothing drastic. There was no COVID, but who wants to be sick? And as you can tell, I still have a little bit of the remnants of that. And so by donning a mask, given that we are going to be traveling together and in close confines, not to mention in close confines with a gajillion other people at a time of the year when. So I'm not saying you have to wear the mask all the time, but if you're feeling unwell, it just stick on a mask, particularly when you're in the vehicle with the rest of the members or on the train or whatever it happens to be. If you should injure yourself or if you should get ill in any way, please let Evan know right away. we err on the side of saying, hey, go and see a clinic, go and visit somebody, because we want you to return back in as good or better condition, other than the extra kilos that you might gain. There's nothing we can do about that. But we want to send you home the same way that you arrived. So please let Evan know if anything is up. Lastly, smoking is not permitted uh, with Wheel and Anchor, and most of the hotels are non-smoking. Like, but smoking is still a thing in Europe, and you'll see that in the markets. You'll see people like standing around having a glass of wine, having a smoke. So we have to be cognizant that the rest of the world isn't like Canada and hasn't sort of, shunned the practice in public. But we would just ask that you not smoke. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the fun part, arriving into Frankfurt. So, first of all, fast forward to like the day before you leave. What I recommend is keep an eye on your emails or on your text messages, because the airlines are good at, letting you know if they anticipate a delay. And let's face it, it's winter, things can happen. I know there's already been some snowstorms in parts of Canada, and there's more coming. So, delays are not uncommon. So if you keep an eye on your phone, you'll already know often in advance if there's going to be an issue. Um, when you get ready for the flight. I mean, you're flying overnight, you're going to have jet lag, be comfortable, hydrate as well on the plane. It's better to have a glass of water than a glass of wine, but I know it's, of course, nice to have a glass of wine and try and get a little shut eye on that overnight flight to Europe. When you get there, you will be greeted by our transfer driver who will meet you. They'll have a sign in the arrival hall. Frankfurt is a big airport, as most of you will know from having transited there in the past. Um, the drivers often speak limited English. In fact, and they probably don't speak German either, just to let you know, or they may speak some German, because most of the drivers in Frankfurt are of typically Turkish descent, or, much like at home, right? It's so keep that in mind. But they're generally great. We have some lovely folks that we work with over there who will bring you to the hotel. It's not a long drive, and bring you downtown. If you as we were saying before, should you not be on the flight that you're scheduled to be on? So let's say you're flying from Winnipeg to Toronto and Toronto to Frankfurt, and the Winnipeg flight is late and you miss the connection. Um, that is when it's critical that you send a note over to Evan to let him know, hey, I've missed the connection. They're rebooking me wherever, so that we don't have a transfer driver that's hunting around the airport when you're not there. And more importantly, so that we can make sure that somebody is there when you do arrive. So that's really, really important. And again, that's a good reason to have your phone and Telegram all set up and ready to go before you leave. I think that's all I need to say about the arrivals. Quick overview of the trip. Of course, we're starting off in Frankfurt. We're going to spend a few nights there. And I suspect a lot of folks are not familiar with the city other than the airport, because it tends to be a transit point. It's a really beautiful city. It has a wonderful old town. It's got a downtown with, big high rises like we're familiar with at home. It's Frankfurt is underrated as far as I'm concerned. You'll love the market there. There are actually several markets strewn over the whole old town. So you'll be there for a few days. You'll take the train up to Dusseldorf. Now, I one thing I just want to address on that, and Evan will manage this, and our team is backing him up. The train system in Germany has had some issues in the last few years. Trains tend to be late; they never used to be, but we'll manage that. But you just have to have a little bit of patience. I always say, think via rail, right? It's things might not happen the way that you expect. That's kind of how it's going in Germany right now, but we will get you there. You'll be then in Dusseldorf. Again, charming, charming city. Yeah, the Christmas markets are, I don't, anyway, there you'll see. They're just great. Part of them are along the river. There's a big Ferris wheel there. There's one in Frankfurt and Vienna as well. Um, it's a lovely, lovely spot. You'll do a side trip down to Cologne. One of the Christmas markets there is right underneath the giant Cologne Cathedral. Beautiful spot. You are then going to make one more leg to Brussels, and your destination will be Ghent, but we're going to take you to the Christmas market in Brussels on the way. But more important than the Christmas market, wouldn't say it's of the Christmas markets you're visiting. It's still cool, but the city itself is amazing. And we have a great guide. I think it's the same guide we had last year, who is going to show you around, and you're going to get a real taste of this city, the capital of the EU, as you probably know. But Ghent is where you're headed, and you might not be familiar with Ghent. And I can honestly say this was the favorite stop from last year, because nobody knows it, and it is a charming medieval town. Like it's one of those ones where like, oh my, how did I not ever come to Ghent before? So you will really enjoy it. Christmas market in the old town. You'll head up to Bruges, which is also a lovely town. It's quite busy. Bruges is probably the most famous touristic town in Belgium, and so it's a little bit manic there. But again, it's a great spot. So you'll enjoy some time up in Ghent and seeing what the Belgian Christmas markets are like. Then you're going to fly down to Vienna. And this is not the highlight, but yet another highlight. Vienna's Christmas market is always on the list of the top ones in Europe. They also have many Christmas markets in Vienna. The main one, of course, at the Old City Hall, and it is magnificent. Like it's phenomenal. But the key thing in Vienna, and Evan will have these details because he and I have been chatting about this. The best Christmas market for shopping, as far as I'm concerned, is actually by the Charles Square, Karlsplatz, as they call it in German. It has a really cool Christmas market with stuff like it's the one where you'll find stuff that you just don't find at other places at. So that's going to be Vienna at the end, and of course, also a side trip by commuter train over to Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. Also a charming little town. And you'll learn a little bit about that city that is also not on most people's radar screen. And I think it's unfair, but anyway, you're going to get to see it as well. So that's your map of where you're going. As I said, Frankfurt, you get a shot a little bit of the old town there. And when you first come in, you'll see the skyscrapers and all the rest of it, and you'll be like, oh, but as I say, the old town is truly, truly charming. The Christmas markets are busy. So the late afternoon is a great time to go, and you'll do a lot of your touring during the day because it's less busy, but at the evening it gets quite packed. So just be have your like uh people patience aura about you because it's busy. But people are in Christmas spirit, so they're there at all these stands drinking Glühwein, drinking punch, egg punch. Try the different stuff. I will say though, try it in the stuff catches up on you. Like I love a good a mug of Glühwein as much as anybody. One's good, two makes you feel really good. By the time you get to three, though, it's when trouble starts to happen. So, and not to mention all the other delicious Christmas drinks that they have there. So, try them. And Evan's going to be encouraging you to try the stuff. Not to mention all of the cookies and the oh my God, I could go on. It's phenomenal. Dusseldorf, same thing. They have a very cool Ferris wheel. I do recommend a ride on it. You get a great view over the city. Um, and it's just a charming town as well. I mean, it's a convention city, but it has a great ambiance to it. Then Ghent, here's a shot from alongside the river. It just gives you a taste of what the city is all about. And there is, depending on the day that you're there, if you get the chance to go to the Saturday market there in Ghent, which is not a Christmas market, it's just a weekly market. But it's really cool, and you'll see non-Christmas stuff, but a great place to shop. And as I say, this city for just strolling around and going for a beer. Belgium, of course, known for all its beers. It's amazing. I wish I was going back myself. And there is Vienna. That will be your final stop. This is the Christmas market at the city hall. Again, a very busy place, particularly in the evenings. But Vienna itself has a ton of charm, and not to mention a bunch of other Christmas markets in various other parts of the city. So you've got time there to go out and check out some of the other spots, and I do recommend doing that and enjoying a little bit of. And then you have this wonderful event at the towards the end of your trip that I'm sure you are going to enjoy absolutely thoroughly. So that's just the overview. I think we covered most of what we had on the list here, did we not? Are there any questions from anybody about anything that we've covered? We've covered a lot. And there's a lot of information, as I say, in the materials that were sent to you. There's 14 people joining you on the trip, so it's a perfect group size for doing the Christmas markets. Uh, the level of strenuousness, as we call it, is intermediate. You're going to be walking around on cobblestone, so one thing we didn't mention was about footwear. Um, what to wear? It could snow. They don't get tons of snow at this time of the year, but you might get a sprinkling here or there. Now, I might eat my words, but it's not generally, particularly in Frankfurt and in Belgium, super snowy, but it could be damp. So, winter boots that are almost like those like winter hiking boots. Like you don't need snow boots for sure, but you want to be something that keep your feet warm, but that also have good treads on them because these cobblestone streets can get slippery when they're wet, and they will be wet at times. Um, yeah, okay, I think that's it. Uh, questions. Anyone going once, going twice. We must have done a good job. There's no questions coming into the Q&A box that I can see. Okay, well, I'm taking that as a good sign, Evan. Um, if you do think of something, you have a couple of options. You can shoot Melody. She is our sort of general sales assistant, who I see a question just popped in. There's another one. There you go. Sometimes it takes a little prompting. Is there more than one train station in Dusseldorf? I want to go to Cologne on our free day. Should I get my tickets in advance? No, there is. What you're looking for in Germany is the Hauptbahnhof. Say that 10 times fast. HBF. So you're going for. So yes, there are multiple train stations in Dusseldorf because there's a lot of commuter train system. It's quite a vast system. You will be going from the Hauptbahnhof, HBS, Dusseldorf HBF. So if you're Google mapping anything, same thing. Frankfurt HBF, Cologne, which is spelled Köln, Koln in German, Köln Hauptbahnhof. That's what you always want to be orienting yourself to, because yes, there are lots of train stations. Um, do you need to get your tickets in advance? No, I would not get your tickets in advance. There's no significant price difference, and you want the flexibility of deciding whether you want to go, depending on the weather, depending on your mood, depending on whatever. So you can make all those decisions um, on your like on the spot, really easy. Like the kiosks, electronic kiosks where you buy your tickets, they all have an English option as well as French and Spanish and God knows what other languages. So they're easy to use. And you can also go to a ticket booth, no problem. You could also buy it online on your phone, but I wouldn't buy anything in advance because that just it when you buy it in advance, it tends to bind you to a certain train. And if you just show up, then you can take any train that's going between A and B. So good question, Pat. Thank you for raising that. Another question: are the hotels finalized yet? Yes, I think the hotels were listed in your daily, so the hotels are listed there. They are, to my knowledge, the same ones that we used last year, and the same, no, with one exception in Ghent. But the hotel that's listed there, I think it's the Pillows. Lovely spot is the hotels that are there are the ones that are final, and so you can have a look at where they are and all of the amenities and so on and so forth. Do the guides use audio guides? I think, Sandra, by audio guides, you mean whispers, which is the headphones where you can hear what they're saying. And the answer is yes, they should be using them in most, if not all, cases in the cities. I will double check that with my operations team, but we have been using those for most of our city tours because it does make life easier when you are able to hear the guide without standing next to them and there's 1,000 people around. So I'm almost positive that is the case, Sandra. So thank you for raising that question. That's a good one. Did we get any other questions? Great. See, a couple of good questions came in the end. If you do have any other questions, drop Melody a note or shoot Evan a telegram. Again, if you haven't already reached out and said hello, now is a good time to do it. And then you can say, "Hey, Evan, what's the deal?" And if he doesn't have the answer right at his fingertips, he's gonna just reach out to one of our team, and they will get the answer for you. So have no fear. We want to make sure that you are ready for this trip. That's it. On that note, I think we can say Merry Christmas. Bon voyage. I haven't said Merry Christmas yet this year. That'll be a first. Have a wonderful trip. Have an amazing time. I wish I was there. I went last year with the group and we had a ball. We had so much fun. You will as well this year. And leave room in your suitcase for, the odd thing that you might find at the Christmas markets, or maybe a second suitcase. That's always an option as well. Any final words from you, Evan?
I just want to say I'm really excited to travel with all of you, and I'm so excited for Christmas markets. I'm getting into the Christmas spirit, and I just can't wait to do it with you guys. I'm as excited as you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Bon voyage, and have a wonderful time in Europe. Bye bye.